أبو بشير.
الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد. So continue our lesson with the book Bulugu Maraam, and we're discussing the bab Sifatul Salat. And in the last lesson we started discussion regarding Taslim. We started discussion relating to Taslim and Ahkam that relates to Taslim. So the author Rahimahullah Ibn Hajar, he mentioned one hadith regarding Taslim, and we discussed the hadith of Wahid Ibn Hujr regarding that Islam that he mentioned about Islam, that in ending the Salat you will say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh according to what is in the book, and also he mentioned Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. So we discussed concerning by way of the hadith itself regarding some discussion regarding certain of the wordings in the hadith regarding concerning that al-barakatuh, is this a part of the hadith or not, both for the first and for the second taslim. So we discuss, and that's somewhat we mentioned that, that goes back to the science of ilm al-hadith. So sometimes can get somewhat complicated regarding discussing matter relating to matters relating to authenticity of hadith. It can somewhat get a bit intense, but we mentioned that in general concerning that there's some discussion. We kind of somewhat went into some detail based upon the fact that you might find concerning most of the madaris of Ahl Sunnah that may follow a particular pattern regarding Taslim, but some of those matters need to be looked at in some more depth. So kind of somewhat I liked that matter. Then we started discussing concerning ahkam that is taken from it. So certain ahkam that is taken from it. Of the points kind of somewhat to start off with, as we mentioned regarding some of these masail that we're discussing, that is a difference between Ahl Sunnah and the ulama, the fuqaha, regarding how to give the taslim and certain matters regarding some of the matters regarding al-fiqh. Bear in mind that sometimes that, as we discussed, a matter as we discussed concerning certain thing may not be authentic upon the Prophet Islam, but we might find the Sahaba doing something, and that comes somewhat, it forms a part of what is done by the ulama, even though it may have something that is authentic going back to the Prophet. But some of the Sahaba may have done that particular act. So it can somewhat validate that particular act. Now, so that also to bear in mind. Also the second thing to bear in mind as we're going to discuss the ahkam, that in some of the masail that we have discussed in the past and things that we may discuss again in the future, it will come up in fiqh now all the time, that sometimes that a person may not per se hold a particular view, but he doesn't make inkar upon the people who may take a view opposite to him. He may not per se agree with a particular view, or based upon his study and his conclusion, based upon the evidence that he may per se, as we mentioned, for example, saying Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh to the right, saying barakatuh as a part of the taslim, that is some discussion regarding its authenticity. For example, a person might come to the conclusion that saying wa barakatuh is not a part of the hadith, that the Prophet did not say this wording as a part of the taslim. But another person B may that's a part of the hadith. Now, so person A, is it a must for him to make inkar, make sure to make his disapproval and admonish openly, publicly, refute the other person? Then that may not be the case. That may not necessitate this. It may be, and sometimes, so you find those matters that may come up, and matters that we should somewhat be mindful of in discussing concerning masail al-fiqhiyya. Sometimes you might not take a particular position based upon your study and the conclusion that you have come to, and also in line with what the ulama of past and present are in line with. Now, then, but someone else might be opposite view. Now, that it doesn't necessitate in all cases that you have to have a tag and war with that person. And know that the person is off because he's not doing such and such, as not taking your conclusion. So having that type of approach regarding Masail al-Fiqhiyya. So as we know, now we start discussing the ahkam that relates to at-taslim. So the thing that we mentioned first, hukum at-taslim. So the hukum concerning at-taslim, given the taslim, the salat, that we mentioned that the ulama, that jumhur of the ulama, they hold that giving taslim as a general, taslim in general, that it's considered as one of the arkan of the salat. Without it, that is a must act of the salat, and a necessary component of the salat for a person to come to an end. So I'll give you of the jumhur of the ulama that we mentioned. I will mention the adillah, but we mentioned some of the ulama hold that the taslim at the end of the salat is not of the arkan of the salat. Now, that a person may end the salat without the taslim. The person may come to an end with the salat without even giving the taslim. For example, a person has reached the end of the salat, and before the taslim, he gets up and walk out. He gets up and walk away. For them, the person have completed his salat, because they hold that taslim is not a necessary component to the salat, but something which is preferred to be done. With me, I mentioned those who have taken that view, also a general conclusion. So sometimes I say, no, that's the view of Abu Hanifa rahimahullah, but there's many others of the ulama who agree with that view. But general ulama sometimes mention also, I think that we mention in most masail, a'immat al-arba. But it doesn't mean that the matter is restricted to those four. Now, you might find that others may side with, for example, Imam Abu Hanifa in this matter, or with Imam Malik. So you might find other people who their names are not that well known, may also side with some of those ulama and some of these masail. There where there's difference. But generally, those four may be mentioned because they are more renowned and the madhab that is followed by most Muslims today. Now, but it doesn't mean that there's not others who are with them. Normally, there's many others with them, but not mentioned. So, we mentioned that particular view. They will mention discussion regarding that they have some adillah regarding that matter, but the evidence is weak. The hadith is weak that is used. So, can I somewhat dismiss that matter? Also, next matter, to bear in mind that the khilafat between the ulama, difference in between ulama, in some cases, they may have a legitimate difference. Both sides may come to a different conclusion, but both sides have dalil that they're using. Now, and for a person who may study the matter, then it comes down to you kind of somewhat to weigh out, which of those two views or the three views are the strongest, but each have some form of dalil that they're using. So not that they're just taking things from out their pockets, meaning the ulama. Now, so for you now to come to a conclusion, because you have to act upon either one of those views, then you make tarjih. So tarjih is when you have to weigh up the various views that are there, then then decide to take one of them, and it means dismissing the others. Now, but the others, so the tarjih is based upon, maybe when you critique their view, you might believe that some view is more stronger, based upon reasons of tarjih. So you have qawaid regarding principles, guidelines that are used regarding how to come to a final conclusion when there's a difference. And some difference, so in some cases everyone might have a legitimate position or view. And you have to just weigh up the one that you think is the best and make tarjih. And in some case, there may be opposite views or different views, but some views are weak, very weak, in the sense of to be dismissed. They have no validity because the dalil they're using is very weak. The hadith is very weak, so that view is automatically, when studied, has to be put aside because the evidence that is used is weak. And the one that seems most strongest is the one with the dalil that is authentic. So in this we mentioned is a difference regarding the taslim, regarding is it compulsory or not. Jumhur says compulsory. Some hold it is not compulsory, but in this case, the one who says it is not compulsory to be done, their view is weak. Their view is weak. It is mentioned, but it's not to be taken because of the weakness in the evidence that they use or mentioned those matters last week. The next matter that is discussed regarding the taslim. Are both taslimatan, are they wajib or not? So we have two taslim, to the right and to the left. Are both those two taslim to be done, or one is sufficient? According to the view of those who hold that taslim is a rukn of the salat. Clear? So is it two taslim that is a must to be done, or one is sufficient? So in that matter, you have various aqwal. Now, those who hold that both are fard, wajiban, to be done, both must be done, whether salat is a compulsory salat or a nafila salat. Whether salat is a compulsory salat or salat nafila. So both taslim, taslimatan, both taslim, they are a requirement in the salat. That's the view taken by Imam Ahmed, also Imam Al Jamaykee. So Ahmed of those of the past, Imam Al Jamaykee of more most of Shawkani 200 years ago, that's contemporary, close enough. One of the ulama, Shawkani, the ulama of Yemen, one of the ulama of Yemen, and they say of the mujtahid, who was Shawkani rahimullah, without the contemporary of Muhammad Abdul Wahhab. He was a contemporary, so Sheikh Muhammad Abdul Wahhab in Najd, what we call Saudi Arabia today, and Shawkani in where? Yemen. Both were contemporaries. Now, Shawkani is from a Zaydiyya background. The ulama of Zaydiyya, that's one of the branches of Shia. Now, but compared to Shia of today, they are closer to Ahl Sunnah compared to others that they may have. Now, and the Zaydiyya, in their madhab, for you to be an imam amongst them, for a person like to excel as a scholar, to be an imam, you have to reach a level for mujtahid. You have to reach a level, so for them to call you an imam, now it is something for them, not many people achieve this. And when you achieve this, that means you have achieved something and you become an imam. When you're a mujtahid. So Shawkani, he has book in all the sciences. Shawkani, San'ani, the other one that we're using, they are considered from the Zaydiyya madhab, from the ulama of Yemen, who have reached the level.
San'ani as well.
San'ani, same thing. Now,
is this because it's from Sana?
Nasrin says because he's from Sana, so they call him San'ani. But we said that they're from the Zaydiyya background, but people who will reach the level of a mujtahid.
Can you explain what mujtahid is?
I don't know if they explain what that mujtahid is. A person will reach the highest level concerning Islamic scholarship. Now you can a person now can go for him, I've gone through all the system and the process of studying and known all the madhahib of the ulama of the past and contemporary time, that they have reached level where they can come to their own conclusion. They can come to their own conclusion, they can go direct to Quran and Sunnah and come to their own conclusion. Because they have mastered, they may say, all the sciences. Now, which is something that, so that's Shawkani. The others who have all that view is of contemporary time, Sheikh bin Baz, and also Sheikh Ibn Uthaymeen. And based upon the numerous Ahadeeth regarding the Prophet of Islam, that you always give both taslim. Numerous Ahadeeth regarding that matter, and of those mentioned by the author, the Hadith of Wa'il. The second view on this matter is that the first taslim is the arkan, wajib, a must to be done to the right, and the second is mustahab, not wajib. So the second view regarding both taslim, their position, the hukum regarding both taslim. Now, the second view, they have taken the position that one taslim, the first taslim, is a must to be done, and the second is mustahab. So if the person wants to give the first one, then that is sufficient enough for salat. And the other one is just completing the salat in the most perfect way. Clear? And the adillah, the hadith of Aisha where she said, كان يختم الصلاة بالتسليم. that Islam, that he used to end the salat with taslim. So they mentioned the word taslim could mean, either the word taslim mean one taslim, or it could mean taslim as a package. So depending on how you understand the hadith. And also, they mention of their dalil, that's also they mention concerning that, أن رسول الإسلام كان يسلم تسليمة واحد تلقى وجهه. That Islam used to give one taslim, that Islam described it, he would give one taslim, only one taslim, and still facing somewhat forward. So he said, Assalamu alaikum. Not give the full thing like this. Now, so if he gave one taslim, or according to this hadith, with one taslim is given, he would just slightly move his head. Now, this hadith that is mentioned regarding Imam Islam giving one taslim, again a hadith of Aisha anha, that hadith is under some discussion regarding going back to the Prophet Islam or something, the statement of just the Sahabiya. Now, so you have that discussion. Is this something that is describing what Islam did, or just a ruling that goes back to Aisha and other among the Sahaba, not going back to the Prophet Islam? So you have that discussion. Now, the hadith in the At-Tirmidhi, Ibn Majah, Ibn Khuzaymah, Al-Hakim, so narrated in various books. But is a difference between the ulama regarding, is it something, a difference regarding, is it something that to be attributed back to the Prophet Islam, or actually go back to action of the Sahaba? So, and then you have other views that are there. So those are the adillah that is used regarding, so the one discussion regarding that, and jumhur of the ulama, they are more inclined, the jumhur of the ulama are of the view that the second taslim is sunnah. The second taslim regarding the salam, it is sunnah to be done, not wajib. So those are the views and some adillah regarding the taslimatan.
So the second view was the view of majority?
Jumhur of the ulama, majority of the ulama. Aye. The Zahiriyya also going to somewhat agree with A. So it does the Jumhur of the ulama regarding the second taslim, it is mustahab, sunnah to be done, not wajib. And as we had mentioned, like Ibn Munzir mentioned that somewhat mentioned there's a form of ijma between the ulama regarding that one taslim is sufficient. Ibn Munzir somewhat mentioned that one taslim is somewhat wajib to be done, as mentioned Ibn Munzir rahimahullah, ijma'an mimman yahfad anhum min ahli al-ilm, that taslimatul wahid yudzi. So Ibn Munzir rahimahullah, that one of the ulama, he has many books that explain fiqh matters, and he has about many books. One, Al-Awsat, that he will give the aqwal of the Sahaba with isnad in a book in fiqh. So Ibn Munzir, of those concerning that, an excellent book regarding fiqh of the Salaf is a book of Ibn Munzir. But his book, he comes with isnad. Even the book that I've read yesterday is not complete, but if you want to know concerning Ahadeeth, concerning the fiqh of the Salaf, then that's the important source or important book in that particular area. But he mentioned that regarding that, not from the ulama that he can recall, that they have the view that one taslim is sufficient. But so he mentioned is an ijma. But some somewhat they some may disagree with that ijma, as Ahmed and others, the Zahiriyya, they have the view that both taslim is wajib. Both taslim is wajib. So still a discussion between the ulama regarding both taslim. Allahu alam, from Ahadeeth, going back to the Prophet Islam, that Islam always did two taslim. Always did two taslim in the salat. So that view concerning sticking to two salat is something which is more of the sunnah that Islam always did. As for Imam Islam, as we mentioned before, doing one taslim. Some of the ulama we mentioned before, Ukaili, Ahmed, and others, they can somewhat negate that the Prophet ﷺ ever did one taslim. Some of the ulama negate that all Ahadeeth relating to the Prophet ﷺ doing one taslim, they're all weak, as we mentioned before. But then I mentioned that some of the Salah from the Sahaba, Aisha, Ibn Umar, that sometimes they would have done one taslim. So from the Sahaba, Aisha, Radha, Ibn Umar and others, that they sometimes would have done one taslim in the Salat. So based upon this, that I mentioned that if a person prays behind the Imam, and he does one taslim, then you follow him. Even though if you all of you that both is to be done. Now, you still follow the Imam in that matter, as he may be of the view that both one is sufficient, and that's the view of the Jumhur of the ulama. So said in that case, sometimes you have to kind of somewhat work with the view that you may not per se agree with, or may take to that view. And you find that have been done before. Find that have been done before. So you find concerning that a person doing from the Sahaba doing something that he didn't per se agree with. Who know that case? In the case concerning Al-Hajj, when either Ibn Abbas or Ibn Umar, that Uthman, he prayed Arba Rakat in Arafah, and the Sunnah is Rakatain. Then when the people asked him, so he did 4. Uthman ibn Affan was then the Khalifa. So after they asked him concerned to know, they asked him concerned, they said to know, that concerned to know, khilaf al-sharr. That concerned to know what he did. The Prophet established 2, he did 4, but khilaf, being different, creating difference between a Muslim, is something with an evil. So he prayed the 4 with Uthman. So sometimes he may do something, now, we said a prayer that may not be the view that you may hold to, but still do it because it is done by someone who may take of the opposite here, but have some type of recognition. The view have some type of recognition. With me? So that's concerning that particular masala. The other masala regarding a taslim that is mentioned, sigat taslim. How to do the taslim, the wordings for the taslim. So the third matter is regarding the wordings relating to the taslim. So there's various ways that the taslim can be done in the salat. There's various ways that the taslim can be done in the salat. The first, as mentioned, is saying Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. For those who own that barakatuh is permissibly said in the first taslim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. Or leave that one for now. So start with the one that is generally accepted by all by saying Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. So that's the one that is majority of the hadith covers, mentions this particular taslim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah to the right. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah to the left. Now, so that's the majority of the hadith, they are of that wording. A second way of doing it, Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. That's also another way that, even though they mentioned that way is khilaf al-sunnah, but can be done. Some of the Salaf, some of the Sahaba, they have done it. Now, so that's considered is not the most ideal way, but if it's done, it is still sufficient. Now, then also another way, which is the way that's under discussion concerning Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. Now, adding barakatuh to the right, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. And stop at rahmatullah to the left without adding barakatuh to the left. So you also have that way that is done based upon the view of some of the ulama. based upon the view of some of the ulama. And also another way, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum to the right. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Assalamu alaikum to the left. And most of those other ways are from the Salaf, from the Sahaba. Most of the other ways are from the Sahaba. So we discussed concerning, so you have those ways concerning, and then you also have another way regarding, and even Shaykh Albani and others, of some who take to that view regarding just restricting oneself to one taslim. So that as for Prophet Islam, there is nothing that goes back to him that is authentic, that he gave one taslim, but more so things some done by the Sahaba, done by some of the Sahaba of giving one taslim, and that will be Assalamu alaikum. So that will be Assalamu alaikum, and not go to the full, make a full turn, but Assalamu alaikum, a slight turn, and that will be sufficient. A matter to discuss, what a fourth or fifth matter, when does the person behind say the taslim? So the person, those who are praying behind, so the Imam have done his, the Imam have given his taslim. So at what point, when should those behind give their taslim? When the Imam completely finish both, or when he completes one? With me? So that's the discussion. When should those behind say give their taslim? As mentioned, yastahab is preferred among the ulama al yusallim al-mamun aqib imam mubashir, that a person should give the taslim immediately after the imam, immediately after the imam. And Imam Bukhari rahimahullah, he mentioned, so not to wait around, even to the extent where he gives his taslim, but you are still giving some dua, you're still in your dua, then you go straight into taslim, like your own personal dua, and you haven't completed it yet. There's other things that you wish to say or to supplicate for, but the Imam have given his taslim, and you're still giving your supplication, your dua, your personal dua, then follow the Imam and end your supplication and give the taslim, and not to wait until you end your taslim, end your dua, but follow behind the Imam. Imam Bukhari rahimahullah, he mentioned in his Sahih Bab Yusallim hina yusallim al-imam, that the people, one should give the taslim right after the imam, right after the imam. And that's the view of Imam Ahmed wa Ishaq wa Shafi, that one should go immediately after the imam. And Bukhari mentioned hadith concerning Utbah ibn Malik, he mentioned Sallayna ma Rasul alayhi salam, that we prayed with the Prophet Islam, فَصَلَّمْنَا حِينَ سَلَّمْ, and that we gave the salam just as he gave his salam, meaning the Prophet Islam. So kind of somewhat shows regarding one should give the salam immediately after the imam. The next matter to discuss regarding that, al-yusallim al-ma'mun عقب الفراغ الإمام من تسليمتين أو تسليمة واحد. Does the Imam, or does the one praying behind the Imam, should he give his taslim after you ended the first or the second? The Imam ended his first or second taslim. At what point you start giving your taslim or salam? When the Imam completely finished both, or when he finished what? One. Clear? So they mentioned Ibn Rajab rahimahullah, أولى للمأمون أن يسلم آخر فراغ الإمام من تسليمتين, that he mentioned that it is preferred, more preferred and better, that those behind the Imam, that they should give their taslim immediately after he give both in the second taslim, both taslim. So you wait until he give the second taslim, then you start your immediately after. After the Imam give the second taslim, then you go. That's the cue for you to go. and you give you when he says Assalamu alaikum, and hear them Assalamu alaikum at the end, then you go. Just as we say when a person, you move, the Imam says Allahu Akbar, and you hear the Ra. Now when he says Allah, then you move. Then that's not correct. Now, so the Taslim, when he ends the Taslim, then you go. Even though I mentioned the person wants to follow after the first Taslim Salat is still acceptable, but the ideal thing, the ideal way is to give start your Taslim when he ends is. What can somewhat come to an end regarding, or just round up certain things regarding this matter pertaining to the Adhkar. So we mentioned regarding that narration in Nasa'i or even Ibn regarding those hadiths, and that also regarding that additional of Tabarani that it is weak regarding saying as Surah Al-Ikhlas. Then of the thing that they discussed regarding the Adhkar, to find that with Adhkar you find that the main bit regarding that, what to be said, the thing that we'll highlight regarding that one, as mentioned by Imam Umar, he mentioned أجمل العلماء على استحباب الذكر بعد التسليم. So regarding mention these Adhkar after Taslim, after Salat, it is something which is mustahab, and it's an ijma between the ulama. So don't see it as a must to be done, but rather it is something which is mustahab to be done. You might have, so you have that matter. Then of the matter that discussed concerning that, an issue that is on the discussion between the ulama of past and present regarding as-sunnah, regarding these Adhkar after Salat, is it to be said aloud, the person raising his voice, or to be said silently? Now, so we have a discussion between the ulama regarding this dhikr about Salat, is it to be said aloud or to be said silently? And it is, you have a hadith of Ibn Abbas where he mentioned أن رفع الصوت بذكر حين ينصرف الناس من المكتوبة كان على أحده عليه السلام, that Ibn Abbas, that he used to mention that in concern the raising of the voice with the dhikr after the people, after Salat, after the maktuba, كان, it was what was established in the time of the Prophet Islam. وكنت أعلم إذا انصرفوا بذلك إذا سمعته, that he would know concerning the people in the Salat by the people making these Adhkar. So I become a thing, so it was something that was said aloud by them raising their voice. So you have those ulama who hold, based on the hadith of Ibn Abbas, that it is permissible, and after Sunnah, that one should raise their voice in making the Adhkar after the Salat. Now, it is not the most prevalent of practice, but it is a practice that is still done by some, and in certain places. Now, so for example, said in most places, people say the Adhkar silently, but you might find places that might go and people may do it aloud. So for example, I went to a place called Unayza or Buraida in Najd in Saudi Arabia, and the Adhkar is done aloud. They say the Adhkar aloud. Even when in university, some teachers will come from that part and come down to teach. You hear them making the Adhkar aloud. He's from that part. Now, so in Medina, it's not a practice that they will do the Adhkar aloud. But other places in the Mamlaka, they may do it aloud. So said it's based upon that discussion. And you have some books that have been written on that topic regarding saying it aloud or saying it silently. Then those who mentioned the more appropriate things that they all concerned that it being said silently, that it means that that's the more correct view. But we said no, that's a discussion between the ulama, a discussion between it being said aloud or silently. And they mentioned, some mentioned a third, kind of someone trying to go in between, that something can be said aloud and something should be said silently. But a discussion, so both is something which is applied, which is the more preferred thing, then that's on the discussion. A next matter regarding the tasbih of saying Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar, and the likes after Salat. So most of the hadith here mentioned the system of saying Subhanallah how many times? 33 times. So you have one narration that mentioned Subhanallah 33 times, Alhamdulillah 33 times, And Allahu Akbar, how many times? 33 times. And the 100th would be La ilaha illallah. So yeah, that's one narration. That's authentic. Another narration that he mentioned, that is saying Subhanallah 33 times, Alhamdulillah 33 times, and Allahu Akbar 34 times. Just another way of doing the same thing, Adhkar. But concerning that, those tasbiyat regarding Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar, some narration also mentions that it can be done 25 times. Each. But this time to be Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah. Each 25 times. So Shaykh Al-Najmi and others can somewhat have, and other books can somewhat mention all of these. Also the author here also mentioned that cases where yes, it can be done 25 times regarding these supplications.
If I recall, there's some assertions to 10 times each.
And to be mentioned, يصب في دبر الصلاة. Also some narration at Ahadeeth of Abdullah ibn Amr ibn As, that of the hadith he mentioned concerning that of mentioning يصب في دبر كل صلاة 10. So التسبيح 10 ويحمد 10 ويكبر 10. So you have also that way we think can be done 10 times. So you have various ways regarding those tasbiyat that it can be done. And all them, if they are all that is authentic, then all them can be used. And sometimes, depending on the person, maybe situation and circumstance. Sometimes you're on the move quick. Now, you have to pray, then go back to the job or do something, you can do 10. Sometimes after Isha, you're relaxed, you can do the full. Now, so it may be used depending on situation and circumstance, but all those are authentic. All those ways are authentic.
With the one where we say Allahu Akbar 34 times, do we say La ilaha illallah with it?
No, without it.
Without it.
Aywa. So that's concerning the various ways. So mentioned in Ayatul Kursi. Now, there's a hadith that of Uqba ibn Amir regarding the Uqba ibn Amir ta'ala قال أمرني رسول الإسلام أن أقرأ بالمعوذات دبر كل صلاة. And that particular hadith is in the Ahmed وأبي داود والترمذي والنسائي وابن خزيمة, many books, and السيوطي or the hadith, Ibn Hajar, many of the ulama, Ibn Hajar, Suyuti, and also Shaykh Albani, that they authenticate that hadith. So concerning that, أمر رسول الإسلام أن أقرأ بالمعوذات دبر كل صلاة, that the Prophet was commanded by the Prophet Islam that I should read the mu'awwadat at the end of each salat. Now, and the salat that is mentioned here is al-maktuba. So these adhkar are more so to be said at the end of salat al-maktuba, the compulsory salat, not the sunan or nafila. It's not these adhkar, they are not to be said at the end of the nafila, but they are more so attached to the compulsory salawat. So some of the general masahil that relates to this particular matter. Then I mentioned Surah Al-Ikhlas, that the hadith is daif. Regarding Surah Al-Ikhlas, you have several hadith, but all of them are weak regarding. So you have the hadith concerning reading of Surah Al-Ikhlas, hadith of Jabir, the hadith of Ibn Abbas, the hadith of Salama, but all those hadith are weak. Regarding reading Surah Al-Ikhlas at the end of the salat, they are all weak. So those are some ideas regarding the azkar at the end of the salat, whether it can be said, should be said aloud or not. That also some of those ones can be done various ways, not just one way. Another thing that they discuss concerning the use of the and the salat, the sunnah is going to be done with the fingers. That's what they call the tasbiha or subha or dhikr beads or whatever it is referred to. Then discussion between ulama, is it something which is a bid'ah or jaiz? Not to say it's a sunnah. So the word sunnah is not attached to it. So is it something which is jaiz or just something which is abida. Majority of the ulama that have written on that topic are somewhat more inclined that is abida. But Sheikh bin Baz have a view that is jaiz.
What is jaiz?
Permissible.
Permissible, okay.
That it can start to give some permissibility of it in some cases. Now, so the person at the end of the salat, but after the person always have it walking around, and you know that thing that sometimes a person walk with it. You understand, and always have it. Then not in that regard, with a person with the end of the salat, person kind of somewhat old, feeble-minded, that he wants to, you understand, to help him count, then he gives some permissible in those cases. But the general thing that most kind of somewhat, they taught it out as something dismissed, it being used at all. Now, so that's concerning that particular matter. And Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah have some more like detail, some like explanation regarding that particular matter. So those are some of the matters regarding the taslim. So with that, inshallah ta'ala, we'll end. You have some other masail, we end here. We'll end regarding that. Yeah, many books now that have written on that particular topic. We have many books on that particular topic regarding at-taslim at the end of the salat. Or not per se taslim per se, yeah, book specific about that, but book in general regarding al-adhkar that can be said. Now we have many books. The most popular one is which one?
Hisnul Muslim.
Hisnul Muslim. That's the most popular one. By Qahtani. I think Said Qahtani. Now, they say also Muslim. That book has been translated in just about many languages. It's one of the most popular books regarding Adhkar that have been written by anyone of contemporary times. Now, and many efforts and its countless prints of that book. Now, languages, but yes, some of the hadith I mentioned in that book, he tried his best, but some hadith are under question, or question mark to them. Some hadith that are mentioned in that book, that there's question sign attached to them, rather than them being authentic. Now, so it's a good book generally to have, but there's few hadith that are under question regarding the authenticity. And also that general thing that a person to be careful regarding choosing a book. And of those things that a person look into, one, knowing the author. And the first thing you know in the author, is he qualified in the book that he's writing? Is he a person who is qualified to write on that topic? With me? So that's the first thing to look at regarding choosing a book. Now, because sometimes a person, which book, rather than tell you this book and that book, of the things to take into account, the author. Who is he? One, is this author qualified at the level of ahliyah? Is he proficient enough to write on that topic? Or qualified to write on that topic? That's the first thing. With me? Is he qualified to write on that topic? The next thing to look at regarding the author, is he a person of the Sunnah? Is he a man of the Ahlul Sunnah? Now, and also regarding that the information that's within the book, does it represent the madhab of Ahlul Sunnah? And no one is perfect, except one was part that made perfect, with the Anbiya. So regarding the book, generally it represents the view of Ahlul Sunnah in most part. Now, you might disagree regarding is this hadith authentic or not, but in most part the book, it represents the book of Ahlul Sunnah regarding its content. Now, then that book is, so that's concerning what is contained in the book. And also another thing regarding what's the aqwal of the ulama regarding the book. Is the book that they recommend, and also in the recommendation, what are the strong points of the book, and also if any mulahadat, any form of caution. So at least you are aware of it, and how to use that book, and how to truly benefit from it. Now, so that's concerning a book. Now, so you might find that and the ulama might give different advice depending on the questioner. Sometimes a person, you understand, a person might ask about a certain event, take into consideration you, the questioner, and your environment. Why you recommend this particular book for you and your environment. So sometimes recommendation may be more, I would say sometimes fatwa is targeted at a particular person and his environment. And to take it to that environment, then you might put something that is meant for one thing in another environment and create confusion. With me. So those are things to take into account regarding. So I said books are many concerning this. Books concerning Adhkar. Some of them have some crazy things in them, but it's to bear in mind those things. Now, and then hopefully you'll be. And of the more popular books, I recommend book that says, the book called Al Adhkar. The book called Adhkar by Imam Umar rahimahullah. After they said overall, one of the books that all the ulama they recommend. To the extent it says, بيت ليس عنده أذكار عنده بيع بيتك. If you do not have the book Adhkar in your house, then sell your house and buy the book Adhkar.
Who's the author, please?
An-Nawawi.
An-Nawawi.
Kitab al-Adhkar by An-Nawawi rahimahullah. So the minister said, if you do not have that book in your house, then sell your house and go and buy that book. Now,
concerning
so that inshallah will end regarding today.
Unless what you were saying about the choosing of books and writing the author and the target audience. Recently I've come across some information that the Shah Sunnah and Imam Al Jamaykee, lay people shouldn't be per se translating this book or even teaching it, because there's some things in the book that can be misconstrued by people that aren't qualified. So if you know anything about that, could you elaborate a little bit?
So the discussion regarding the book of Imam Al rahimahullah, the book Shar As-Sunnah. And Shar As-Sunnah is a book of Aqidah type of thing. I will say now with that book that the ulama in general now recommend, and Imam rahimahullah was like of the 4th century now of the student of Imam Ahmad rahimahullah. And a part of the Sunnah, and the general said some books are by general and ulama recommend the book, but also the book itself said after what the book contained, Imam Barbahari as a person, the Imam of the Sunnah. But as for the book then of that particular book you mentioned, Usul Sunnah, that a book that is used, I would say of the book of those books that we find in today's time, a lot of books of the ulama of that. Of we said the Salaf, their books now are coming to light and being published now, then and being also being taught, which is good. The thing now concerning that particular book, Imam Barbahari book, is of those books that it have said the recommendation of the ulama would have been mentioned by the ulama regarding this book, and sometimes for myself the word ulama is not used correctly. Now myself, the person, the ulama, I've recommended this book. I'm going to ask you, who are the people that you call the ulama? Because, and prove to me that a person is right to be called an alim. Prove to me. And to prove it, means you have to bring aqwal of the people. You have to have aqwal to say that person that you're saying is from the ulama. Is he from the ulama? That's one matter for me. That is somewhat, the word ulama is used very loosely. Now, and the book, as for example, the book of Imam Barbahari, it have gone through a few prints, right? And each of the print that comes after the other, it points out some of the fault of the person who came before them, but not to go into that now. But as for the book generally, all the people who have printed that book and who have studied that book from the ulama, they'll mention there are certain points in that book that one should be mindful of, that it can, hopefully not take out of context. That Imam Barbahari might mention certain points in the book that it's to be it needs to be explained properly. Better word, better true. So certainly he mentioned that book has to be explained properly. Now, and if not take, if can be used if taken as it is. It's should be explained. With me? Should be explained. That sometimes we can somewhat use certain that he labeled as bid'ah. That's not the case. And certain he mentioned about his book in praising his own book, then also that needs to be explained. So that overall, the book still is being explained by the ulama. So you find many who have explained the book. Now, Sheikh Arad, yeah, some of the kibar of the ulama have explained the book, Sheikh Fawzan.
Yeah, I think what's key is that somebody competent and qualified.
So the shahid,
the point made.
the thing concerning a person who said not in any book that is used, that the person who's going to use this book, he himself, you understand, look to the person and said, what's your level of qualification to teach this book? What's your level to teach this book? Yes, you understand, are you qualified enough to teach this book? And that book of Barbahari would require a person who have some level of competency, that he have studied with the ulama for a while, for him to, and not just rely upon what is already mentioned by some who have explained the book, but he himself is qualified to teach that book. If he's qualified, then yes. But are you qualified? Is Fulan qualified to teach the book and know the pros and cons of that book? Now, that's the thing. So, are people in the West qualified to teach a book? Yes, a person qualified from the university, then also that he's qualified. We can compare, but if a person is below that level, then I'll put a question sign to him. Anyone who's below those who have not graduated from university or to that degree, with me, a person has spent 10 years with a sheikh, or my sheikh studied in their masajid, and I studied to study, then he may be qualified. But the person below that, then a question sign will go to him. Ideally, no. If you have graduated from a level of university, of Medina level, or Imam or Qura, then I'll say, no, he shouldn't touch that book. Should not touch that book.
Someone just translating.
What can somewhat come to an end regarding, or just round up certain things regarding this matter pertaining to the Adhkar. So I mentioned regarding that narration in Nasa'i or Ibn Ibn regarding those hadiths, and that also regarding that additional of Tabarani, that it is weak regarding saying as Surah Al-Ikhlas. Then of the thing that they discussed regarding the Adhkar, and to find that with Adhkar you find that the main bit regarding that, what to be said, the thing that we'll highlight regarding that one, as mentioned by Imam Umar, he mentioned أجمل العلماء على استحباب الذكر بعد التسليم. So regarding mention is Adhkar after Taslim, after Salat, it is something which is mustahab, and it's an ijma between the ulama. So don't see it as a must to be done, but rather it is something which is mustahab to be done. You might have, so you have that matter. Then of the matter that discussed concerning that, an issue that is on the discussion between the ulama of past and present regarding as-sunnah, regarding these adhkar after salat, is it to be said aloud, the person raising his voice, or to be said silently? Now, so we have a discussion between the ulama regarding this dhikr about salat, is it to be said aloud or to be said silently? And it is, you have a hadith of Ibn Abbas where he mentioned أن رفع الصوت بذكر حين ينصرف الناس من المكتوبة كان على أحده عليه السلام, that Ibn Abbas, that he used to mention that in concern that raising of the voice with the dhikr after the people, after the salat, after the maktuba, كان, it was what was established in the time of the Prophet Islam. وكنت أعلم إذا انصرفوا ذلك انصرفوا بذلك إذا سمعته, that he would know concerning people in the salat by the people making these adhkar. So that become a thing. So it was something that was said aloud by them raising their voice. So you have those ulama who hold, based on the hadith of Ibn Abbas, that it is permissible, and of the sunnah, that one should raise their voice in making the adhkar after the salat. Now, it is not the most prevalent of practice, but is a practice that is still done by some. and in certain places. Now, so for example, said in most places people say the adhkar silently, but you might find places that might go and people may do it aloud. So for example, I went to a place called Unayza or Buraida in Saudi, like in Najd in Saudi Arabia, and the adhkar is done aloud. They say the adhkar aloud. Even when in university, some teachers will come from that part and come down to teach. You hear them making the adhkar aloud. You know, it's from that part. Now, so in Medina, it's not a practice that they will do the adhkar aloud. But other places in the Mamlaka, they may do it aloud. So we said it's based upon that discussion. And you have some books that have been written on that topic regarding saying it aloud or saying it silently. Then those who mentioned, you know, the more appropriate thing is that they are concerned that it being said silently, that it means that that's the more correct view. But we said no, that's a discussion between the ulama, a discussion between it being said aloud or silently. And they mentioned, some mentioned a third, kind of someone trying to go in between, that something can be said aloud and something should be said silently. But a discussion, so both is something which is applied, which is the more preferred thing, then that's on the discussion. A next matter regarding the tasbih of saying Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar, and the likes after Salat. So most of the hadith here mention the system of saying Subhanallah how many times? 33 times. So you have one narration that mentioned Subhanallah 33 times, Alhamdulillah 33 times, and Allahu Akbar how many times? 33 times. And the 100th would be La ilallah. So yeah, that's one narration that's authentic. Another narration that he mentioned is saying Subhanallah 33 times, Alhamdulillah 33 times, and Allahu Akbar 34 times. So it's another way of doing the same thing, Azkar. But concerning that, those tasbiyat regarding Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar, some narration also mentions that it can be done 25 times. Each. But this time to be Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar, La ilallah. Each 25 times. So Shaykh al-Najmi and others can somewhat have, and other books can somewhat mention all of these. Also the author here also mentioned that cases where yes, it can be done 25 times regarding these supplications.
If I recall, there's some assertions to 10 times each.
And to be mentioned, يصب في دبر الثلاث. Also some narration at Ahadeeth of Abdullah ibn Amr ibn As that of the hadith mentioned concerning that of mentioning يصب في دبر كل صلاة 10. So التسبيح 10 ويحمد 10 ويكبر 10. So you have also that way we think can be done 10 times. So you have various ways regarding those tasbiyat that it can be done. And all of them, if they are all that is authentic, then all of them can be used. And sometimes, depending on the person, maybe situation and circumstance. Something you're on the move quick, you have to pray, then go back to the job or do something, you can do 10. Sometimes after Isha, you're relaxed, you can do the full. So it may be used depending on situation and circumstance, but all those are authentic. All those ways are authentic.
With the one where we say Allahu Akbar 34 times, do we say La ilaha illallah with that?
No, without it.
Without it.
Aywa. So that's concerning the various ways. So mentioned in Ayatul Kursi. Now, there's a hadith that of Uqba ibn Amir regarding the Uqba ibn Amr ta'ala anhu قال أمرني رسول الإسلام أن أقرأ بالمعوذات دبر كل صلاة. And that particular hadith is in the Ahmed وأبي داود والترمذي والنسائي وابن خزيمة, many books, and السيوطي or the hadith, Ibn Hajar, many of the ulama, Ibn Hajar, Suyuti, and also Shaykh Albani, that they authenticate that hadith. So concerning that, أمر رسول الإسلام أن أقرأ بمعوذات دبر كل صلاة. That the Prophet was commanded by the Prophet Islam that I should read the mu'awwadat at the end of each salat. Now, and the salat that is mentioned here is al-maktuba. So these adhkar are more so to be said at the end of salatul maktuba, compulsory salat, not the sunan or nafila. It's not these adhkar, they're not to be said at the end of the nafila, but they're more so attached to the compulsory salawat. So some of the general masahil that relates to this particular matter. Then I mentioned Surah Al-Ikhlas, that the hadith is daif. Regarding Surah Al-Ikhlas, you have several hadith, but all of them are weak regarding. So you have the hadith concerning reading of Surah Al-Ikhlas, hadith of Jabir, the hadith of Ibn Abbas, the hadith of Salama, but all those hadith are weak. Regarding reading Surah Al-Ikhlas at the end of the salat, they're all weak. So those are some ideas regarding the azkar at the end of the salat, whether it can be said, should be said aloud or not. That also some of those ones can be done various ways, not just one way. Another thing that they discuss concerning the use of and the salat, the sunnah is right to be done with the fingers. That's what they call the tasbiha or subha or dhikr beads or whatever it is referred to. Then the discussion between ulama is it something which is a bid'ah or jaiz. Not to say it's a sunnah. So the word sunnah is not attached to it. So is it something which is jaiz or is it something which is a bid'ah? Majority of the ulama that have written on that topic are somewhat more inclined that is a bid'ah. But Shaykh bin Baz has a view that is jaiz.
What is jaiz?
Permissible.
Permissible, okay.
That it can sometimes give some permissibility of it in some cases. Now, so the person at the end of the salat, but after the person always have it walking around and you know that thing that sometimes a person walk with it. You understand, and always have it. Then not in that regard with a person with the end of the salat, person kind of somewhat old, feeble-minded, that he wants to, you understand, to help him count, then he gives some permissible in those cases. But the general thing that most kind of somewhat, they taught it out as something dismissed, it being used at all. Now, so that's concerning that particular matter. And Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah have some more like detail, some like explanation regarding that particular matter. So those are some of the matters regarding the taslim. So with that, inshallah ta'ala, we'll end. You have some other masail we end here. We'll end regarding that. Yeah, many books now that have written on that particular topic. We have many books on that particular topic regarding at-taslim at the end of the salat. Or not per se taslim per se. Yeah, book specific about that, but book in general regarding al-azkar that can be said. Now we have many books. The most popular one is which one?
Hisnul Muslim.
Hisnul Muslim. That's the most popular one. By Qahtani or Qahtani. I think Said Qahtani. Now they say also Muslim. That book I've been translated in just about too many languages. Many languages. It's one of the most popular books regarding azkar that have been written by anyone of contemporary times. Now, and many efforts and it's countless prints of that book. Now, languages, but yes, some of the hadith I mentioned in that book, he tried his best, but some hadith are under question, or question mark to them. Some hadith that are mentioned in that book, that there's question sign attached to them, rather than them being authentic. Now, so it's a good book generally to have, but there's few hadith that are under question regarding their authenticity. And also that general thing that a person to be careful regarding choosing a book. And of those things that a person look into, one, knowing the author. Knowing the author. And the first thing you know in the author, is he qualified in the book that he's writing? Is he a person who is qualified to write on that topic? With me? So that's the first thing to look at regarding choosing a book. Now, because sometimes the person, which book, rather than tell you this book and that book, of the things to take into account the author. Who is he? One, is this author qualified of the level of Ahliya? Is he proficient enough to write on that topic? Or qualified to write on that topic? That's the first thing. With me? Is he qualified to write on that topic? The next thing to look at regarding the author, is he a prophet of the Sunnah? Is he a man of the Ahlul Sunnah? Now, and also regarding that the information that's within the book, does it represent the method of Ahlul Sunnah? And no one is perfect, except one was part of being perfect, with the Anbiya. So regarding the book, generally, it represents the view of Ahlul Sunnah in most part. Now, you might disagree regarding is it hadith authentic or not, but in most part, the book, it represents the book of Ahlul Sunnah, regarding its content. Now, then that book is, so that's concerning what is contained in the book. And also another thing regarding what's the aqwal of the ulama regarding the book. Is the book that they recommend, and also in the recommendation, what are the strong points of the book, and also if any mulahadat, any form of caution. Any form of caution. So at least you are aware of it, and how to use that book, and how to truly benefit from it. Now, so that's concerning a book. Now, so you might find that, and the ulama might give different advice depending on the questioner. Sometimes a person, you understand, a person might ask about a certain event, take into consideration you, the questioner, and your environment. Why you recommend this particular book for you and your environment. So sometimes recommendation may be more, I would say sometimes fatwa is targeted at a particular person and his environment. And to take it to that environment, then you might put something that is meant for one thing in another environment and create confusion. With me. So those are things to take into account regarding, so I said, books are many concerning this, books concerning Adhkar. Some of them have some crazy things in them, but it's to bear in mind those things. Now, and then hopefully you'll be, and of the more popular books, I recommend book that says, the book called Al-Adhkar. The book called Adhkar by Imam Umar rahimahullah. After they said, overall, one of the books that all the ulama, they recommend, to the extent it says, بيت ليس عنده أذكار عند بيع بيتك. If you do not have the book Adhkar in your house, then sell your house and buy the book Adhkar.
Who's the author, please?
An-Nawawi.
An-Nawawi.
Kitab al-Adhkar by An-Nawawi rahimahullah. So the minister said, if you do not have that book in your house, then sell your house and go and buy that book. Now,
concerning
so that inshallah will end regarding today.
concerning what you were saying about the choosing of books and writing the author and the target audience. Recently I've come across some information that the Shah Sunnah and Imam Al Jamaykee, lay people shouldn't be per se translating this book or even teaching it, because there's some things in the book that can be misconstrued by people that aren't qualified. So if you know anything about that, could you elaborate a little bit?
So the discussion regarding the book of Imam Al rahimahullah, the book Shar As-Sunnah. And Shar As-Sunnah is a book of Aqidah type of thing. I will say now with that book that the ulama in general now recommend, and Imam rahimahullah was like of the 4th century now, of the student of Imam Ahmad rahimahullah, and a prophet of the Sunnah, and the general said some books are general and ulama recommend the book, but also the book itself said after what the book contained, Imam Barbahari as a person, the Imam of the Sunnah. But as for the book then of that particular book you mentioned, Usul Sunnah, that a book that is used, I would say now of the book of those books that we find in today's time, a lot of books of the ulama of that, of we said the Salaf, their books now are coming to light and being published now, then and being also being taught, which is good. The thing now concerning that particular book, Imam Barbahari book, as after those book that, it have we said, the recommendation of the ulama would have been mentioned by the ulama regarding this book. And sometimes for myself, the word ulama is not used correctly. Now myself, the person, the ulama, I've recommended this book. I'm going to ask you, who are the people that you call the ulama? And prove to me that that person is right to be called an alim. Prove to me. And to prove it, means you have to bring aqwal of the people. You have to have aqwal to say that person that you're saying is from the ulama. Is he from the ulama? That's one matter for me. That is somewhat, the word ulama is used very loosely. Now, and the book, as for example, the book of Imam Barbahari, it have gone through a few prints, right? And each of the print that comes after the other, it points us on the fault of the person who came before them, but not to go into that now. But as for the book generally, all the people who have printed that book and who have studied that book from the ulama, they'll mention there are certain points in that book that one should be mindful of, that it can, hopefully not take out of context. That Imam Barbahari might mention certain points in the book that it's to be it needs to be explained properly. Better word, better true. So certainly mentioned that book has to be explained properly. Now, and if not take, if can be used, if taken as it is, it should be explained. With me, should be explained. That sometimes can somewhat use certain that he labeled as bidah. That's not the case. And certainly he mentioned about his book in praising his own book, then also that needs to be explained. So that overall, the book still is being explained by the ulama. So you find many who have explained the book. Now, Sheikh Ar-Ra, some of the kibar of the ulama have explained the book, Sheikh Fawzan.
Yeah, I think what's key is that somebody competent and qualified.
So the shahid,
the point made.
The thing concerning a person who said not in any book that is used, that the person who's going to use this book, he himself, you understand, look to the person and said, what's your level of qualification to teach this book? What's your level to teach this book? Yes, you understand, are you qualified enough to teach this book? And that book of Barbahari would require a person who has some level of competency, that he has studied with the ulama for a while, for him to, and not just rely upon what is already mentioned by some who have explained the book, but he himself is qualified to teach that book. If he's qualified, then yes. But are you qualified? Is Fulan qualified to teach the book and know the pros and cons of that book? Now, that's the thing. So, are people in the West qualified to teach a book? Yes, a person qualified from the university, then I say that he's qualified. We can compare, but if a person is below that level, then I'll put a question sign to him. Anyone who's below those who have not graduated from university or to that degree, with me, a person has spent 10 years with a sheikh, or my sheikh studied in their masajid, and I studied to study, then he may be qualified. But the person below that, then a question sign will go to him. Ideally, no. If you had graduated from a level of university, of Medina level, or Imam or Qura, then I'll say, no, he shouldn't touch that book. Should not touch that book.
Someone just translating.